Yeah, I had a question from somebody on the reeds, and I kind of dashed off an answer. And then in thinking on it, I thought, well, I should go into this a little bit more, because one of the things she mentioned was she was a beginning weaver, and you know, you kind of have to be a little careful dealing with people who are starting out on something, and make sure they understand. Okay, this is the reed on a loom, which is really the heart of a loom. It's what the strings run through, and it's what does the packing of the material. But it sets the pitch for how many strings per inch. You know, like when you hear a thread count on something, like on sheets, and they say it's so many threads per inch. This is the kind of thing they're talking about, you know, the actual pitch of the threads. Now, her concern was her reed had blue paper. Now, this is old brown paper, and it was peeling off, and she was afraid it would catch. Well, really nothing goes up and down there. You know, the warp stays down in the reed. But this reed lays in grooves in the wood, both on the top and on the bottom. And it does kind of protect, because these are sharp little edges, and they can chew on the wood. Also, you don't really want your reed to be moving in those grooves all the time. So what I suggest is a thing I do on some of them, if the groove is loose in there, I'll use a tape similar to this. This is a little bit narrow, but you'll get the idea. This is a friction tape. But you could use like a masking tape or anything, and put it over that. And that'll tighten it up in the grooves and give it a little protection, because you do want to protect the threads. Let's see, I'll find. Okay, here's how a reed is made. This is a really old, really fine one. It's a split dowel, as you can see, and this has got very fine metal slats in it, and they're spaced by turns of string. That's what spaces them. Well, if you wear those strings out, you can start getting these to coming loose. So it does pay to protect them. You know, this is actually really old and really rough shape. But like I say, the reed is the heart of the loom. They come in different pitches, and you'll usually find it stamped on the end in the metal. And there are little brass caps on the end, and you kind of watch, because they can come off. Here's one. Now, this is a rather coarse reed, but you can see this one lost the metal cap. Well, then one starts coming out. That's a pretty good reed, though. But I should find one that is bad and replace that metal cap. Now, you can buy new reeds. I think they're like 100, 150. You can get them different lengths, because there is different lengths, different depths, and different pitches. Like I say, most of the time that information is tamped on the ends of them. But my suggestion, you know, if you're concerned about the tape coming off, you could do this. Most of the newer, these are all real old, and that's usually what I've been dealing with. But when she said the blue paper's coming off, I know what she's talking about, because a lot of them now, the newer ones, are stainless, which is a good thing, and they'll come with like almost a blue plastic on the top and the bottom. But it's not a big concern, except, like I say, if you want to protect those strings, because like here I can see these strings are slightly worn. But when I say about, you can see, you know, right there it says the 12. So that's 12 threads for every inch. You know, and this one you can see is quite a bit coarser. And this isn't on a common, actually I don't know that this, oh yeah, it's been used, the reed has been, but it's not uncommon to see them dented. You can go in there and straighten them all out. It's not a big deal. It's harder on a really fine reed. You know, like when I say 12, now this is actually a little fine for working rugs, though it's a common pitch that you'll find, or dent, they call them. It's how many threads per inch, but it'll be like, this would be called a 12 dent. But this isn't a bad idea if you've got room in there in your wood, if your wood is loose, to put some of this friction tape, or what they call hockey tape. Same stuff I use on the axe handles. You know, it's funny, like when I say it's the heart of the loom, a lot of times I hear people say, you know, this loom, my great-grandparents brought it over from Sweden. Well, rather unlikely. You know, most of the time when the immigrants are coming over, you weren't bringing a loom. You were limited to how much you could bring, and it was usually like a trunk or two, you know. You didn't need to bring the whole loom. There was plenty of wood here. But what you needed was the reed. So there's a lot of reeds that got brought over. Because you can make a loom, you know, there's wood. And most of your Scandinavian immigrants, they had the skill to make a loom. But making a reed is another matter, though I have seen them that were made out of, you know, a split wooden dowel and split pieces of wood off on a bamboo, which is why they were called reeds originally. And them little slivers of wood put in there, and then the string wound, you know. You could do it, but this is the heart. So it's kind of important to keep track of that. But like I say, see, they are available, new ones, and like, the new ones are stainless. Though a rusty reed is not a big deal. You know, it's not hard to clean them off. You know, as long as you don't have damage on the string that spaces them. You know, like this one would be hard to use, but very fine. Commonly, you'll find them anywhere from 6 to 24 dent, and this has got to be like a 24. But it depends on the material you're weaving, and lots of times, like if I have a loom that's a 12, what I will do is I will double the strings up and space them twice as far, so there'll be an empty slot between a doubled string. So you get the same thread count, but the arrangement is slightly different, so it works better for making rugs. Makes a longer lasting rug. I think this one must be one for my new comb, or one of my new combs. Yeah, so you can see the difference between this one and this one. But I don't know what dent this one would be. 15. Well, that would actually work on the new comb if you're weaving like a cloth or a tapestry, which they can do. But a lot of times, like, you'll run into reeds at rummage sales or auction sales and flea markets, and people really don't know what they're for. But if the string isn't all beat up, and if they aren't really badly dented and they got the metal caps on the end, they're well worth having. You know, I pick them up whenever I find them, because you can, if you got the reed, you can always make a loom, but you got to have the reed. It's a good starting point. But this will solve the problem she was talking about. Though I've seen a lot of looms running just bare against the string, and it doesn't do them any harm. Sometimes they have like a kind of a tarry paint on them that protects the strings, but that hockey tape does a better job.